Robinson for inviting me here today. Today feels all the more sweet because I'm here with my beautiful mother, who somehow always believed this moment was possible, my wonderful husband, who cheered me through every single year at Kenyon and every year since, and our 17-year-old daughter, Hadley, who is around the same age I was when I first arrived in Gambier, and who toured and moved here yesterday. So in this very moment, of my life, it's been the whole circle, and it's really a magical feeling. So I want to start with a confession, which is that I actually got kicked out of high school my junior year. The main reason was because I actually never went to school, for which I had been well warned. But in the end, the school also admitted that there was not one teacher who believed I could succeed. Not one teacher there willing to write me a college recommendation. And that was brutal to hear. Crushing as it was, that moment ultimately taught me an invaluable lesson. That every crisis is actually an opportunity for change. I remember desperately wanting to overcome my failure, but not exactly knowing what that meant or how to even begin. Somehow my mother, God bless you, managed to get me into another high school, and it was there that I met Miss Lifton, the first educator who saw something special in me and showed me how I could do things differently. She did two things that changed the direction my young life was heading and pointed me towards success. First, she saw that I was motivated by a need for independence, so she paid me to come to school every day. I know, an agent was born. Second, she suggested that Kenyon was a perfect match for me. She brought me to Kenyon Review and sent away for a course catalog. She promised if I worked really hard and showed up every day, she would explain to Kenyon admissions why I was a student with a curious mind who was worth taking a chance on. I did my part, she did hers, and thank God Kenyon College took a chance and admitted me. Which leads me to my next life lesson. It's not what happens, it's what happens next. Well, what happened next for me is when I arrived in Gambier, when I entered these classrooms, I heard the brilliance of my professors speaking about their subjects with such passion. I felt the like-minded camaraderie of other students. I walked down the middle path with pride. What happened next was utterly transformational. Listening to Dave Flynn talk about The Great Gatsby, Terry Lenz talk about Dante's Inferno, Professor Schutt vibrate with excitement about Canterbury Tales, Professor McMullen discuss women's voices in literature, Professor Rogan illuminate the Book of Job, I literally felt like I was Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz arriving at Emerald City. My life suddenly began to unfold in Technicolor. I remember so vividly in one class, after reading I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, the whole class drove to Columbus to hear Maya Angelou read. I realize this sounds crazy, but I didn't know authors were alive. And reading and writing is about things so real and so immediate and so personal to me that you can go and listen to them and read for free. Of course, I now know after 20 years in publishing that most authors would happily pay you to listen to them read. But back then, listening to Maya Angelou talk about a young girl triumphing over adversity and finding her own voice, I could see the first genuine miracle of my life flickering in the distance. It was the beginning of my calling out to me. How do you know when your calling is calling? Well, a good sign is that time flies by when you're doing it. You feel energized afterwards. And when you don't do it for too long, you feel depleted and long to return to it. I learned those things here. I also learned the true meaning of friendship on this campus, and my three best friends to this day I met freshman year in Gun Hall. One is a novelist, another a journalist, and the third a professor. They all love what they do and credit Kenyon with igniting their passion. Professor Rogan and his wife drove all the way from Ohio to New York to perform my wedding ceremony in 1990. There was no one else I could imagine blessing our marriage and that next phase of my life. As he was leaving, he gave us a button that read, Rogan weddings, they last and last. Well, 23 years and 3 children later, I'm overjoyed that Professor Rogan was right about that too. A career I adore, lifelong friendships, a lasting marriage with 3 beautiful children. These are some of the gifts that Kenyon College has given to me. Okay, so the girl someone paid to come to high school is hardly the person you might elect to take advice from. So bear in mind, the following is worth exactly what you are paying for it. First, remember that a crisis is always a disguised opportunity. I know it's sometimes a very good disguise, but find the opportunity and take it. Second, it's not what happens, it's what happens next. So from this point on, know that your response to any situation or challenge is the one thing you're always in complete control of. Seize that control. And finally, only you know what makes you feel empowered. You know what makes time magically fly by. I suggest that you let yourself love what you love. Stay true and nurture that passion like you would a love affair or a member of your own family. What you become as a grown-up is in your control, even though I know it doesn't feel like it. I assure you that you can become something that you love. Never let anyone tell you that there is not a living, a career in what matters most to you. I'm the proof, and I bet